At 6:47 a.m. on February 17, 1940, Corporal Simo Hiha lay motionless in a snowdrift 150 meters from a Soviet supply route near Kola, Finland, watching a Red Army patrol of 12 soldiers march through frozen forest. The temperature was minus 43 degrees Celsius. The 34-year-old Hiha had been in this position for 4 hours. He wore no winter camouflage, just a white snow smoke over his standard Finnish Army uniform. His rifle was a Mosin Nagant M2830. No telescopic sight, only iron sights. The rifle was 46 inches long, weight 9.6 pounds. Chambered in 7.62 by 54 millimeter R, 5-round internal magazine. Hiha had already killed 387 Soviet soldiers in 79 days of war. The Soviets had sent counter-sniper teams to find him. They had sent artillery to destroy his positions. They had sent patrols with orders to capture him alive. All had failed. Now 12 more Soviet soldiers were approaching. They carried Mosin Nagant 9,130 rifles. They had scopes. They outnumbered Hiha 12-1. None of them would see who was shooting. None of them would survive the next 4 minutes. If you want to see how one Finnish farmer became the deadliest sniper in history, hit that like button. Subscribe for more impossible stories. Back to Hiha. Simo Hiha was born December 17, 1905 in Järvi, Finland, near the Russian border. His family were farmers. His father owned 150 acres. They grew rye, potatoes, hay. They raised cattle and pigs. The farm was isolated. The nearest town, Matila, was 8 kilometers away, population 400. Hiha was the second of 8 children. He attended school until age 14, standard for rural Finland. Then he worked the farm full-time. But Hiha was not an average farmer. He was a hunter. Finland's forests were thick pine, spruce, birch. The forests held elk, deer, fox, wolf, bear. Hunting provided meat for winter. Hunting also developed skills, patience, stealth, reading terrain, understanding wind, judging distance, shooting accurately. Hiha hunted from age 12. By age 20, he was the best hunter in Ruther. He could shoot a running fox at 400 meters. He could remain motionless in sub-zero temperatures for hours. These skills would prove critical. In 1925, at age 20, Hiha completed mandatory Finnish military service. Every Finnish male aged 21 served 1 year. Hiha served in the Sojoska, the Civil Guard. This was Finland's volunteer defense organization. The Civil Guard trained civilians for war. Finland expected war. Russia had controlled Finland until 1917. Finnish independence was recent. Russian threats were constant. The Civil Guard prepared for inevitable invasion. Hiha's military training emphasized marksmanship. The Finnish Army doctrine prioritized rifle accuracy. Every soldier qualified at 150, 300, and 500 meters. Hiha exceeded standards. At 150 meters, he hit targets 97% of the time. At 300 meters, 89%. At 500 meters, 72%. His instructors noted exceptional accuracy and calmness under pressure. Hiha completed service in November 1926. He returned to farming. He continued training with the Civil Guard. He attended shooting competitions. He won repeatedly. By 1939, he had won multiple Finnish national championships. His competition rifle was a Mosin Nagant M2830, the same rifle he would use in war. The Mosin Nagant M28-30 was manufactured by Sacco, the Finnish arms company. It was a modification of the Russian Mosin Nagant M91. The Finnish version was more accurate, better trigger, better sights, better stock. Length 46.5 inches, weight 9.6 pounds. barrel length 27 inches. The rifle fired 7.62 by 54 millimeter R cartridges. Bullet weight 185 grains. Muzzle velocity 2,600 feet per second. Effective range 500 meters with iron sights, 800 meters with scope. He never used a scope. He preferred iron sights. Scopes could fog in cold. Scopes glinted in sun. Scopes required raising your head higher, exposing more silhouette. Iron sights were simple, reliable, faster. Hi-Hi could acquire targets and fire in 1.5 seconds with iron sights. With a scope, the average was 2.8 seconds. Speed mattered. From 1926 to 1939, Hee-Haw lived a quiet life, farming, hunting, shooting competitions. He was 5 feet 3 inches tall, weight 150 pounds, small by Finnish standards, quiet, reserved. He didn't drink alcohol. He didn't smoke. He attended Lutheran church. He was unremarkable except for his shooting. No one expected him to become the deadliest sniper in history. No one expected war to transform a farmer into a legend. Then on November 30th, 1939, the Soviet Union invaded Finland. On November 30th, 1939, at 8 a.m., Soviet artillery shelled the Finnish border town of Manila. Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov claimed Finland had fired first. This was false. It was a pretext. The Soviet Union wanted Finnish territory. Joseph Stalin demanded Finland cede land near Leningrad. Finland refused. Stalin ordered invasion. The Red Army deployed 1 million soldiers, 3,000 tanks, 2,500 aircraft. The invasion force was massive. Finland's entire military numbered 300,000, no tanks, 114 aircraft. The numerical advantage was overwhelming. 3 Soviet soldiers for every Finnish soldier. The world expected Finland to surrender within 2 weeks. Finland didn't surrender. Finland fought. Simo Hi-Ha received mobilization orders on November 30th, 1939. He reported to his Civil Guard unit in Mathila. He was assigned a 6th Company JR 34, Abatement 34, Infantry Regiment 34. The regiment deployed to the Kola River sector. This was 50 kilometers north of Hi-Ha's farm. The terrain was forest, dense, frozen. The Kola River was the defensive line. If the Soviets crossed Kola, they would advance to Viipuri. Viipuri was Finland's 2nd largest city. Losing Viipuri meant losing the war. Hi-Ha's mission was simple. Stop the Soviets. Kill anyone crossing the river. Don't let them advance. The Soviet 155th Rifle Division attacked Kola on December 7, 1939. Approximately 14,000 Soviet soldiers versus 4,000 Finnish defenders. The Soviets attacked in waves, human wave tactics. Soviet doctrine emphasized overwhelming numbers. Casualties were acceptable. The first wave crossed the frozen Kola River at 6:30 a.m. Finnish machine guns opened fire. 800 Soviets died in the first hour. The survivors retreated. The second wave attacked at 9 a.m. 600 more Soviets died. The third wave at 11 a.m. 500 more dead. By nightfall on December 7th, 2,400 Soviet soldiers were dead. The Finns suffered 68 casualties. The exchange ratio was 35-1. The Soviets had tanks, artillery, air support. The Finns had rifles, terrain knowledge, and determination. Hi-Ha participated in this first battle as a standard rifleman. He fired 42 rounds. He estimated 12 hits. Not confirmed, just estimates. But Hi-Ha noticed something. The Soviets moved predictably. They followed roads. They bunched together. They exposed themselves. His hunting experience taught him that predictable prey dies easily. Soviet soldiers were predictable prey. Hi-Ha requested transfer to sniper role. His company commander approved. Heha became a designated marksman on December 9, 1939. He would operate independently, select his own positions, engage targets of opportunity. His only restriction, stay within 500 meters of finish lines. Heha accepted. He began hunting. Heha's first confirmed kill as a sniper occurred December 10, 1939 at 7:23 a.m. A Soviet officer was organizing a patrol 250 meters from finish lines. The officer was visible through trees. Heha was prone in snow. He aimed. He exhaled slowly. Between heartbeats, he fired. The officer fell. The patrol scattered. Heha didn't move. He waited. At 7:31 a.m., a Soviet soldier approached the dead officer. Heha fired again. The soldier fell. The patrol retreated. 2 kills. Heha recorded them in his personal log. He recorded every kill, date, time, range, conditions. The log was methodical, clinical, like a farmer recording harvest yields. Over the next week, Heha developed his technique. He operated alone. He left finish lines before dawn. He moved 200 to 400 meters towards Soviet positions. He found concealment, a snowdrift, fallen trees, dense brush. He prepared his position carefully. He cleared snow from his muzzle area. Muzzle blast disturbs snow. Disturbed snow reveals position. He packed snow tightly around himself. He left only his rifle barrel and head exposed. He minimized his silhouette. He waited. Soviet patrols moved through the forest daily. They followed trails. They sought Finnish positions. They were targets. Heha fired at ranges between 150 and 400 meters. He preferred 250 meters. At 250 meters, the 7.62 by 54 millimeter round had 2,100 feet per second velocity. Bullet drop at 250 meters was 7 inches. Wind drift minimal. He aimed center mass chest. The bullet's energy at 250 meters was 1,850 foot-pounds, sufficient to penetrate Soviet winter uniforms and kill instantly. He averaged 5.3 kills per day in December 1939. This was exceptional. The average sniper achieved 0.8 kills per day. He was 7 times more effective. His method was consistent. Fire once, wait, observe. If additional targets presented, fire again. Never fire more than 3 rounds from one position, 3 shots maximum before relocating. More than 3 shots allowed enemies to triangulate position. After 3 shots, Heha withdrew 50 meters. He established a new position. He waited. Sometimes Soviet return fire hit his previous position. Artillery, machine guns, mortars. The Soviets destroyed empty positions. Heha was already gone. By December 22, 1939, Heha had 87 confirmed kills. His company commander verified each one. Verification required witness or direct observation. Heha operated alone, so witnesses were rare, but his company observed Soviet casualties when reclaiming positions. The dead matched Heha's reports. The kills were real. The Soviets began noticing. Patrols found dead soldiers. Single gunshot wounds, center mass, headshot, no sounds, no muzzle flashes seen. The soldiers died from invisible threat. Soviet officers interrogated survivors. Survivors reported nothing. They heard 1 shot. 1 soldier fell. They took cover, sometimes another shot. Another soldier fell. They never saw the shooter. The Soviets called him Balaya Smr, White Death. The name spread. Soviet soldiers feared Kala Sector. They knew White Death operated there. They didn't know White Death was one man. They assumed a team, 6 to 8 snipers. How else could one position kill so many? It was incomprehensible that one farmer with iron sights was killing entire patrols. On January 8, 1940, Soviet command deployed counter-sniper teams to Kala. These were specialized units, trained snipers with Mosin Nagant 9130 PU rifles. The PU was a scoped variant, 3.5 times magnification. These snipers had orders: find White Death, kill him. The teams operated in pairs, one spotter, one shooter. They used standard counter-sniper tactics. Observe suspected sniper positions. Wait for muzzle flash. Return fire immediately. Suppress or kill enemy sniper. The tactics were sound. They failed against Heha. The problem was Heha's method. He fired from prone positions deep in snow. His muzzle was below snow level. When he fired, the muzzle blast dissipated into snow. No visible flash. The sound was muffled. Soviet counter-snipers heard shots but couldn't locate origin. They watched suspected positions. Heha wasn't there. He was 50 meters away, already relocated. The Soviet snipers were hunting a ghost. Additionally, Heha used temperature to his advantage. At minus 40 degrees Celsius, breath creates vapor. Vapor reveals position. Heha held snow in his mouth. The snow kept his breath cold. No vapor formed. Soviet snipers looked for breath vapor. They found nothing. Heha was invisible. The Soviets tried artillery. If counter-snipers couldn't find him, artillery would saturate suspected areas. On January 15, 1940, Soviet artillery bombarded a 500-meter section of forest where Heha operated. 200 shells, 122-millimeter howitzers. The bombardment lasted 30 minutes. Trees were shattered. Snow was churned. The forest was destroyed. When Finnish scouts checked after the bombardment, they found Heha 800 meters south. He had observed the artillery preparation and moved before the shells arrived. 0 casualties. The Soviets wasted 200 shells. The Soviets tried infiltration. Small teams would move at night. They would establish ambush positions along routes where White Death operated. When he appeared, they would kill him. On January 22, 1940, a Soviet team of 8 soldiers infiltrated 300 meters behind Finnish lines. They established positions at a trail intersection. They waited. At 6:45 a.m., Heha approached. He was 180 meters from the Soviet ambush. He stopped. He sensed something wrong. Hunters develop instincts. Heha's instincts said, danger. He withdrew. He circled 400 meters east. He approached the intersection from a different angle. At 7:30 a.m., he observed the Soviet ambush team. They were watching the trail. Their backs were exposed. Heha shot 4 of them before the others fled. The ambush failed. By February 1st, 1940, Heha had 219 confirmed kills. The Soviets increased their efforts. They deployed more counter-sniper teams. They increased artillery bombardments. They sent patrols specifically to hunt White Death. All failed. Heha adapted faster than the Soviets. When they deployed counter-snipers, he changed positions more frequently. When they used artillery, he operated from deeper positions. When they sent hunter patrols, he hunted the hunters. His kill count increased. The Soviets also suffered from poor morale. Soviet soldiers knew about White Death. They knew Kola was a death trap. Volunteers for patrols declined. Officers had to order soldiers forward. Some soldiers refused. Refusal meant execution. But death from White Death seemed certain. Death from execution was merely possible. Some chose execution. Soviet discipline held barely, but the fear was real. One Finnish farmer with a rifle created fear in an army of 1 million. February 1940 was Heha's deadliest month. The weather was coldest, minus 40 to minus 45 degrees Celsius. Soviet soldiers wore heavy winter uniforms. The uniforms were brown against white snow visible at 500 meters. Heha exploited this. He increased his operating range. Instead of 250 meters, he engaged at 350 to 450 meters. The longer range meant Soviet return fire was less accurate. It also meant HIHA needed exceptional marksmanship. At 400 meters, bullet drop was 22 inches. Wind drift at 10 miles per hour was 8 inches. HIHA compensated automatically. Years of hunting made the calculations instinctive. On February 17, 1940, the day from the hook, HIHA killed 16 Soviet soldiers. He fired 19 rounds, 16 hits, 3 misses. The 12-man patrol from the hook was eliminated in 4 minutes. HIHA fired 12 rounds, 11 hits. 1 soldier escaped wounded. HIHA relocated and found a different patrol. 4 more kills, then another patrol. 1 more kill, 16 total. The Soviet 155th Rifle Division reported 23 casualties that day in HIHA's sector. 7 were artillery, 16 were sniper. All sniper casualties were attributed to White Death. High confirmed 16. The numbers matched. By February 21, 1940, HIHA had 387 confirmed kills. This was extraordinary. The Winter War had lasted 83 days. HIHA averaged 4.7 kills per day. The previous record holder for most sniper kills was unknown. Sniper records weren't widely kept in 1940, but estimates suggested the highest previous total was approximately 150 kills by a German sniper in World War I. HIHA had more than double that. He was the deadliest sniper in history, and the war wasn't over. But February 21, 1940 was also when Soviet command changed tactics. They stopped trying to find HIHA. Instead, they decided to eliminate the entire area where he operated. On February 22, 1940, Soviet artillery began sustained bombardment of the KA sector, not targeted strikes. Saturation bombardment every day, 4 hours per day, 500 shells per day. The objective was destroy the forest, remove cover, make sniping impossible. The bombardment continued for 12 days. February 22nd through March 5th, 1940, 6,000 shells destroyed 3 square kilometers of forest. Trees were obliterated. Snow was mixed with shrapnel and dirt. Visibility increased. Cover decreased. The Soviets succeeded in making the terrain less favorable for snipers. HIHA adapted. He moved to new positions daily. He dug shallow fighting positions. He operated at dawn and dusk when light was poor. He reduced his exposure time. Instead of 4-hour watches, he operated for 90 minutes maximum. He fired fewer rounds per position, 2 shots instead of 3. His kill rate decreased but remained significant. Between February 22nd and March 5th, 1940, he killed 73 more Soviet soldiers. His total reached 460. The Soviets had transformed the terrain. They had increased their counter-sniper efforts. They had dedicated artillery and air assets to finding him. None of it stopped him. But on March 6, 1940, something did. At 6:32 a.m. on March 6, 1940, HIHA was in a firing position 290 meters from Soviet lines near Kola. Temperature minus 38 degrees Celsius. Light snow falling, visibility 400 meters. He had been in position since 5 a.m., 92 minutes. He had fired 4 rounds, 3 hits, 1 miss, 3 Soviet soldiers dead. He was preparing to relocate. At 6:32 a.m., a Soviet patrol appeared. 6 soldiers. They were moving carefully. They were searching, looking at trees, at snowdrifts, at ground irregularities. They were a hunter patrol looking for snipers. HIHA observed them. They were 320 meters away. Extreme range for iron sights. He calculated the shot. 22 inches in bullet drop. 12 miles per hour wind from the left. 9-inch wind drift. He aimed high and right. He fired. The lead soldier fell. The other 5 soldiers immediately took cover and returned fire. Not random fire, disciplined fire. They had seen the muzzle flash or the snow disturbance, something. They fired at Heha's position approximately 40 rounds in 15 seconds. Mosin Nagant 9,130 rifles, 7.62 by 54 millimeters R. Several rounds hit near Heha. He couldn't relocate. The fire was too accurate. He was pinned. Then one round hit. At 6:33 a.m., a Soviet bullet struck Heha's face. The bullet entered his left cheek. It traveled through his jaw. It shattered multiple teeth. It exited through his right cheek. The explosive hydraulic shock from the bullet's energy tore tissue throughout his lower face. His jaw was destroyed. His tongue was partially severed. Blood filled his mouth and throat. He was choking. He couldn't breathe. He was dying. But Heha didn't die. His brain registered the hit. Pain was irrelevant. He had one priority: survive. He needed extraction. He couldn't call for help. His jaw was destroyed. He couldn't speak. He needed to reach finish lines, 290 meters. He needed to move. At 6:34 a.m., Heha began crawling. He left his rifle. He crawled through snow. Blood poured from his face. It created a visible trail. The Soviet patrols saw the blood trail. They advanced. They wanted confirmation. They wanted to verify they had killed White Death. He crawled faster. He crawled 50 meters in 2 minutes. The Soviet patrol was 200 meters behind him, closing. At 6:37 a.m., Finnish machine gunners on the defensive line saw Heha crawling. They saw the Soviet patrol pursuing. The Finns opened fire. 2 Maxim/09-21 machine guns, 7.62, 2 times 54 millimeter R, 600 rounds per minute. Sustained fire. The Soviet patrol took cover. The Finns maintained suppressive fire. Finnish soldiers ran forward. They reached Heha at 6:39 a.m. They dragged him to Finnish lines. The Soviets withdrew. Heha was alive barely. Finnish medics treated Heha at the regimental aid station at 7:15 a.m. His condition was critical. Massive facial trauma, blood loss, severe airway compromised. Blood and tissue filled his throat. He couldn't breathe properly. The medics established an emergency airway. They couldn't intubate. His jaw was too damaged. They performed a field criciotomy. They made an incision in his throat below the larynx. They inserted a tube. He could breathe barely. The medics stabilized him and evacuated him to a field hospital 15 kilometers behind the lines. He arrived at 9:30 a.m. Surgeons assessed his injuries. The bullet had destroyed his left mandible. His right mandible was fractured. 6 teeth were gone. His tongue was lacerated. Soft tissue damage was extensive. Blood vessels were severed but had clotted. The clotting saved his life. If the bullet had severed his carotid artery, he would have died in 90 seconds. The bullet missed the carotid by 8 millimeters. 8 millimeters was the difference between death and survival. Surgeons operated for 6 hours. They debrided destroyed tissue. They set fractures. They sutured lacerations. They couldn't reconstruct his jaw immediately. That would require multiple surgeries over years. They focused on saving his life. The operation succeeded. Heha survived, but he was incapacitated. He couldn't speak. He couldn't eat. He was fed through a tube. He drifted in and out of consciousness. On March 13, 1940, 1 week after Heha was shot, Finland and the Soviet Union signed the Moscow Peace Treaty. The Winter War ended. Finland ceded 11% of its territory. The Soviets gained the Karelian Isthmus. They gained Heha's home region. Rarvi was now Soviet territory. Heha's family farm was lost. Finland survived as an independent nation. The cost was high. 70,000 Finnish casualties. 25,900 for dead. The Soviets suffered 321,000 casualties, 126,875 dead. The exchange ratio was 5-1. Finland lost but inflicted catastrophic casualties. He personally accounted for 542 Soviet casualties, 505 with his rifle, 37 with his Swami KP-31 submachine gun in close combat, 542 confirmed kills in 98 days of combat, 5.5 kills per day average, the deadliest sniper in history. Heha remained in hospital until July 1940, his jaw partially healed. Surgeons performed 3 additional operations. They reconstructed his jaw using bone grafts. They rebuilt his left cheek. The reconstruction was partially successful. His face was permanently disfigured. His left cheek was collapsed. His jaw was misaligned. He could speak but with difficulty. He could eat but slowly. He would never look the same, but he was alive. On July 17, 1940, Heha was discharged from hospital. He was promoted to second lieutenant. This was field promotion recognition for his service. He received the Cross of Kola. This was Finland's highest military decoration for winter war service. The medal ceremony occurred in August 1940. Finnish Commander-in-Chief Carl Gustaf Amal Mannerheim personally presented the medal. Mannerheim asked Heha how he became such a good shot. Heha replied, "Practice." 2 words, typical, Heha, quiet. Understated. Hai couldn't return to his farm. Rarvi was Soviet territory. His family had evacuated. They relocated to Roalati, 80 kilometers west. The Finnish government compensated families who lost land. They provided new farms. Heha received 50 acres. He built a small house, he farmed, he hunted, he lived quietly. He didn't discuss the war. When asked about his kills, he said, "I did what was necessary, nothing more." In 1941, Finland entered the continuation war against the Soviet Union. This was separate from the Winter War. Heha wanted to serve. The army refused. His injuries were too severe. He couldn't serve in combat. He was assigned to training duties. He taught marksmanship to new snipers. He taught camouflage, fieldcraft, patience. His students asked about his techniques. He demonstrated. He emphasized simplicity, iron sights, consistent position, breath control, calm. His methods worked. Finnish snipers in the continuation war averaged 2.3 kills per day, higher than any other nation's snipers. His training contributed. After the continuation war ended in 1944, Hai returned to farming. He lived in Ruli until his death. He never married. He lived alone. He hunted occasionally. He attended veterans gatherings. He was recognized, respected, but he remained humble. He refused interviews. When journalists asked about the war, he said, "It was my duty. I fulfilled it. That is all." In 1998, at age 93, Heha agreed to one interview. A Finnish historian recorded it. The historian asked if Heha regretted killing 542 men. Heha said, "I regret that the war happened. I regret that men died, but I don't regret my actions. Soviet soldiers invaded my country. They would have killed Finns. I stopped them. That was my duty." The historian asked if he felt like a hero. Heha said, "No, I was a soldier. I followed orders. Heroes are men who sacrifice themselves. I survived. I'm just a farmer who learned to shoot." Simo Heha died April 1st, 2002. He was 96 years old. He died peacefully in a veterans nursing home in Haina, Finland. He had lived 62 years after being shot in the face. 62 years after the Winter War ended, he outlived the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Finland remained independent. Heha contributed to that independence. His funeral was attended by 300 people, veterans, politicians, journalists. The president of Finland sent condolences. Heiha was buried in Ruolahti, a simple grave. No elaborate memorial, just a headstone with his name, birth date, death date, and one-word soldier. Heiha's Mosin Nagant and 28-30 rifle survived the war. After Heiha was shot, Finnish soldiers recovered his rifle from the snow. The rifle was returned to Finnish army inventory. It was assigned to another sniper. That sniper used it for the remainder of the Winter War. The rifle survived. After the war, it was returned to Seiko factory. Seo refurbished it. They replaced the barrel. The original barrel was worn from firing 10,000 plus rounds. The new barrel maintained the rifle's accuracy. The rifle was then assigned to training use. It was used at Finnish Army Sniper School for 40 years. In 1988, the Finnish Army recognized the rifle's historical significance. They retired it from service. They donated it to the Finnish Military Museum in Helsinki. The rifle is displayed there. Exhibit label Simo Heiha's Mosin Nagant M28-30 used to achieve 505 confirmed sniper kills, Winter War 1939 to 1940. The rifle is unremarkable. Standard woodstock, blued steel barrel, iron sights, no modifications, no special features, just a standard rifle in the hands of an exceptional shooter. It achieved exceptional results. Modern snipers study Heiha. His techniques are taught in sniper schools worldwide, not just Finnish schools. American, British, Russian, Israeli all study Heiha. The lessons are timeless. Patience overcomes technology. Simplicity beats complexity. Iron sights at 250 meters with perfect fundamentals beats scoped rifles at 500 meters with poor fundamentals. Calm under pressure, adaptation to conditions. These principles haven't changed. Heiha proved them in 1940. They remain valid today. The Soviets never confirmed who shot Heiha. Soviet records from the Winter War are incomplete. The Soviet soldier who hit Heiha is unknown. The Soviets claim multiple times they had killed White Death. Each claim was false. Heiha survived. After the war, Soviet veterans sometimes claim credit. I shot White Death. None could prove it. The soldier who actually hit Heiha likely died later in the war, or died in Stalin's purges, or never knew who he shot. The Soviets fired thousands of rounds at Finnish positions. One round hit Heiha. Probability, chance, not skill. The Soviets got lucky once in 98 days. That luck nearly killed the deadliest sniper in history. His record has never been broken. 542 confirmed kills. The next highest sniper total is approximately 500 kills. Soviet sniper Ivan Sidorenko in World War II. Sidorenko operated for 4 years. Heiha operated for 98 days. If Heiha had served a full year at the same rate, he would have killed 2,000 men. If he had served 4 years like Sedero, 8,000 men. The mathematics are staggering. But Heiha didn't serve longer. He was shot. He survived. He served 98 days, 542 kills, 5.5 per day. No other sniper has matched this rate. No other sniper has matched this total in such a short time. Modern military analysts have studied Heiha's effectiveness. They concluded his success derived from 5 factors: exceptional marksmanship, intimate terrain knowledge, extreme weather creating opportunity, Soviet tactical incompetence, and luck. All 5 were necessary. Remove any one factor and Heiha's success decreases. His marksmanship was genetic and trained. His terrain knowledge came from living there 34 years. The weather was historically cold in winter 1939 to 1940. Soviet tactics were rigid and predictable. Luck meant surviving 98 days when probability said He should have died by day 30. All factors aligned. The result was 542 dead Soviet soldiers. The human cost of Heha's success is measured in 542 lives. Soviet soldiers, mostly conscripts, average age 22. Most were from Ukraine, Belarus, Russia. They were farmers, factory workers, students. They were drafted. They were sent to Finland. They died in frozen forest. They never saw who shot them. One moment walking, next moment dead. Some died instantly, some bled out in snow. Some were wounded and froze to death before medics reached them. All were killed by one Finnish farmer they never saw. The mathematics justified Heha's kills. Those 542 Soviet soldiers would have killed Finnish soldiers if they had lived. Each Soviet soldier killed by Heha meant Finnish soldiers survived elsewhere. The exchange ratio favored Finland, but the human cost remained. 542 families in Soviet Union lost sons, husbands, fathers. 542 funerals. Soviet authorities didn't inform families how their loved ones died. They were told killed in action. No details, no explanation. The families never knew their son died from invisible sniper 300 meters away. Never knew he walked into forest and never walked out. Never knew he was one of 542. Heha understood this cost. In his 1998 interview, he was asked if he thought about the men he killed. He said, "I try not to, but sometimes I do. They were soldiers, following orders like me. They didn't choose war. Stalin chose war. Politicians chose war. Soldiers fought war. I killed soldiers. They would have killed me if they had seen me first. That is war. It is not heroic. It is not glorious. It is killing. I was good at killing. That doesn't make me proud. It makes me sad that I was needed." This reflection reveals Heha's character. He was not a psychopath who enjoyed killing. He was a soldier who understood necessity. War required killing. He killed efficiently. He followed duty, but he didn't celebrate it. He didn't boast. When awarded medals, he said, "These should go to soldiers who died. They sacrificed more than I did. I survived. They didn't." This humility characterized Heha's life. He was the deadliest sniper in history, but he saw himself as a farmer who did his duty, nothing more. The question remains, how did one farmer kill 542 trained soldiers in 98 days? The answer is multifaceted. Heha had exceptional marksmanship. Years of hunting developed unconscious competence. He didn't think about shooting. He just shot. Muscle memory, instinct. Second, he had infinite patience. Farmers understand patience. Crops grow slowly. Animals move unpredictably. You wait, you don't rush. He applied farmers' patience to sniping. He waited hours for one shot. Third, he operated alone, no distractions, no coordination required. He made all decisions. He moved when he wanted. He shot when he wanted. Independence increased effectiveness. Fourth, he understood terrain intimately. He grew up 8 kilometers from Kola. He hunted those forests for 22 years. He knew every trail, every hill, every clearing. Soviet soldiers didn't know the terrain. They followed maps. Maps show trails. They don't show good sniper positions. Heha knew where good positions were. He selected positions Soviets wouldn't expect. He fired from positions Soviets couldn't predict. Fifth, he exploited Soviet weaknesses. Soviet tactics were rigid. Patrols followed patterns. Heha learned patterns. He positioned himself where patrols would appear. He waited. They appeared. He fired. Pattern recognition was key. Sixth, he maintained absolute discipline. He never fired unless conditions were perfect. Perfect meant target clearly identified, range known exactly, wind assessed, escape route planned, finish lines within reach. If conditions weren't perfect, he didn't fire. Patience, discipline. Other snipers fired at marginal targets. They revealed positions. they died. Heiha only fired at certain targets. He stayed hidden. He survived. But the most important factor was mindset. Heiha saw sniping as problem-solving. Not combat, not war, just problem-solving. Problem. Soviet soldiers invading Finland. Solution: kill them before they kill Finns. He approached sniping like hunting. Hunting isn't emotional. You don't hate elk, you just kill them efficiently. He didn't hate Soviet soldiers, he killed them efficiently. This psychological distance allowed him to function at peak effectiveness for 98 days. He wasn't traumatized, he wasn't conflicted. He was solving a problem. 542 problems solved, then he was shot, problem interrupted, then peace treaty, problem ended. He returned to farming, next problem, grow potatoes. Same mindset, different problem. 542 Soviet soldiers killed by one man. Those 542 were removed from Soviet combat power. They couldn't kill Finns. They couldn't capture positions. They couldn't advance. One man neutralized 542 enemy combatants. Modern military theory values this. Special operations emphasize small teams achieving disproportionate effects. Heiha was special operations before the term existed. One man, one rifle, 542 enemy casualties. Cost effectiveness was infinite. Finland invested one rifle, a few thousand cartridges, and one trained farmer. Return: 542 enemy dead. Incalculable morale damage, defensive success. Heiha also demonstrated that technology isn't everything. Soviet snipers had scopes. Heiha had iron sights. Soviet snipers operated in teams. Heiha operated alone. Soviet snipers had more training. Heiha had hunting experience. Yet Heiha killed more than all Soviet counter-snipers combined. Technology doesn't replace skill. Scopes don't replace marksmanship. Teams don't replace individual competence. Modern militaries sometimes forget this. They emphasize equipment, technology, systems. Heiha reminds them, a skilled individual with simple tools beats mediocre individuals with complex tools. Finally, Heiha demonstrated Finnish concept of sisu. Sisu is difficult to translate. It means determination, perseverance, refusal to quit, despite impossible odds. Finland had CIU 300,000 Finns versus 1 million Soviets. Finland fought, Finland survived. Heiha embodied Shisu, shot in the face destroyed. He crawled 290 meters to safety. He survived, he recovered, he taught, he farmed, he lived 62 more years. Sisu refusing to die, refusing to quit, persevering. That is Heiha's ultimate legacy. Not 542 kills, but surviving, living, continuing, refusing to be defeated by war, injury, or circumstance. Today, Heiha is remembered in Finland as a national hero. But Heiha wouldn't want that label. He would want to be remembered as he was, a farmer, a soldier, a man who did his duty. Nothing more, nothing less. The 542 kills are statistics. The important thing is Finland survived. Finland remained independent. Heiha contributed. That was enough for him. That should be enough for history. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Every like tells YouTube to share these forgotten stories with more people. Subscribe and turn on notifications. We're preserving true stories of extraordinary people every single day. Drop a comment right now and tell us where you're watching from. Do you know anyone from Finland? Have you heard of the Winter War? Let us know you're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making sure Samoa's story isn't forgotten. These heroes deserve to be remembered. You're helping make that disclaimer. This video presents narrative-style storytelling inspired by World War II events gathered from publicly available online sources. While we strive for accuracy, certain elements may be dramatized for engagement. This content is not intended as an academic reference. For verified historical research, please consult professional historians and official archives.